In 1945, Japan lay in ashes. Cities were flattened. Industry was in shambles. Millions were left homeless. And yet, within just a few decades, this defeated nation transformed into one of the world's leading economic powerhouses. Welcome to News Nexus. Today we take you on a journey through one of the most extraordinary stories of economic recovery in human history, the Japanese economic miracle. World War II ended with Japan's unconditional surrender after the devastating atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The country lost not only two major cities, but also much of its infrastructure, shipping fleet, and industrial capacity. The economy had shrunk to one-third of its pre-war size. Inflation was rampant, unemployment was sky-high, food shortages were everywhere. Japan stood on the brink of social and economic collapse. From this low point, the world expected Japan to become a poor, dependent country, possibly even a long-term welfare case under U.S. supervision. But Japan had other plans. Under the leadership of General Douglas MacArthur, Japan was placed under U.S. occupation from 1945 to 1952. The goal was twofold: democratize and demilitarize Japan. But the U.S. occupation did more than just rewrite the Constitution and disband the military. It initiated a series of economic reforms that laid the foundation for Japan's recovery. One of the most impactful reforms was land redistribution. Huge feudal estates were broken up, and land was sold at low prices to the tenant farmers who actually worked the soil. This change empowered millions of small farmers, turning them into landowners, boosting agricultural productivity, and stabilizing rural Japan. Labor reforms were also introduced, allowing the formation of unions and the negotiation of better wages and working conditions. These changes encouraged a more equitable society and reduced the chances of social unrest. Perhaps most importantly, the U.S. introduced the Dodge Plan, designed by American banker Joseph Dodge. The Dodge Plan was tough but necessary medicine. It stabilized Japan's hyperinflation by enforcing strict budget discipline, cutting government subsidies, and setting a fixed exchange rate of 360 yen to the US dollar. This fixed rate offered predictability and laid the groundwork for Japan's export-led growth. Then came an unexpected twist of fate. In 1950, the Korean War broke out. Japan suddenly found itself in a critical strategic position, serving as the primary logistical base for United Nations forces, mainly the U.S. military. American military orders, known as special procurements, funneled about $2 billion into the Japanese economy. Factories that had been silent for years roared back to life. Ships were repaired, textiles, steel, vehicles, and electronics were manufactured at breakneck speed to meet wartime demand. This massive infusion of capital and industrial activity became a springboard for the Japanese economy. It wasn't long before Japan's industries moved from recovery to expansion. As Japan regained its footing, its government adopted a highly strategic approach to economic management. A key player in this was the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, better known as MITI. MITI played a hands-on role in directing Japan's industrial policy. It identified industries with the highest growth potential, such as steel, shipbuilding, automobiles, and later, consumer electronics. MITI offered tax incentives, subsidies, and low-interest loans to these sectors, while simultaneously controlling imports through tariffs and quotas. This protection gave Japanese companies the breathing room to modernize, innovate, and eventually outcompete their Western counterparts. This blend of state guidance and private enterprise is often referred to as guided capitalism. The results were astounding. Between 1950 and 1973, Japan's GDP grew at an average annual rate of 10%, a figure unmatched by any other industrialized nation at the time. But it wasn't just about smart policies. The Japanese people played an enormous role in this miracle. The post-war generation embraced values like Kaizen, which means continuous improvement, and gaman, which means enduring hardship with patience and dignity. These cultural values fostered an intense work ethic, discipline, and a collective focus on rebuilding the nation. Japanese companies offered lifetime employment to many workers, promoting loyalty, stability, and deep organizational knowledge. Employees were more than just workers, they became part of the company family. This created an environment where people were motivated not only by salary, but also by pride and shared purpose. In the 1950s, Japanese products were often dismissed as cheap imitations, but the nation quickly moved beyond this reputation. By the 1960s and 70s, brands like Sony, Honda, Toyota, and Panasonic emerged as global icons of quality and efficiency. Companies like Toyota pioneered the just-in-time manufacturing system, a revolutionary process that minimized waste, reduced inventory costs, and maximized productivity. Sony transformed the global consumer electronics landscape with products like the Walkman. Honda and Toyota introduced affordable, reliable cars that were fuel-efficient and built to last, shaking up the automotive world. Japanese products were no longer seen as imitations, but as industry benchmarks. With few natural resources, Japan had little choice but to focus on exports. Export-led growth became the core of its economic strategy. Japanese goods, especially automobiles, electronics, and semiconductors, became ubiquitous across the world. The trade surpluses accumulated, foreign currency reserves swelled, and Japan cemented its status as an economic superpower. By the 1980s, Japan was the world's second largest economy, second only to the United States. The skyline of Tokyo, the bullet trains, the futuristic infrastructure, and the rise of Japanese multinational corporations were visible proof of this transformation. But at the heart of this industrial machine was something even more powerful: human capital. Japan invested heavily in education. By the 1960s, Japan had some of the highest literacy rates and most technically skilled workforces in the world. High school and university enrollment surged, and rigorous academic competition became the norm. The education system emphasized mathematics, engineering, and science, ensuring that the workforce was equipped for industrial and technological advancement. This emphasis on education ensured a steady supply of engineers, scientists, and business leaders who would power Japan's industrial expansion. Infrastructure development was another critical piece of the puzzle. The Japanese government invested heavily in highways, ports, airports, and public transportation. The introduction of the Shinkansen, or bullet train, in 1964 revolutionized transportation and symbolized Japan's new image as a modern, forward-looking nation. Efficient infrastructure enabled the smooth flow of people and goods, lowering transaction costs and boosting economic output. Despite this incredible journey, the Japanese economic miracle was not without its share of challenges and lessons. Overdependence on exports, asset bubbles, and speculative real estate markets eventually led to the bursting of the Japanese economic bubble in the early 1990s, ushering in what is now known as the lost decade. Growth slowed, the stock market collapsed, and real estate prices tumbled. But even during these troubled years, Japan maintained its advanced infrastructure, technological know-how, and social cohesion. The core lesson of Japan's miracle remains as relevant today as ever. Strategic planning, government support, a disciplined work culture, and global market focus can turn even the bleakest scenarios into success stories. Japan's rise from ruins serves as a powerful reminder that resilience, innovation, and collective will can overcome even the most daunting obstacles. From the ashes of war to the skyscrapers of Tokyo and the global reach of Japanese brands, Japan's journey is more than just an economic miracle. It's a story of human determination, vision, and the unyielding spirit to rise again. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the Japanese economic miracle. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to News Nexus, and hit the bell icon so you never miss more stories that shape our world.